Hello everybody and welcome to Futurecast. This is the show we're going to be doing here for the PUBG Europe Contenders. Today on Futurecast, we're going to discuss everything we saw in week 1 of the PUBG Europe Contenders. We're going to be looking at the top moments, the worst moments, and also be looking at the week ahead, week 2, Group B. And we're going to have a little bit of a prediction game going on as well, right, Toby?
Yeah, and if we guess our predictions wrong, I think I've come up with a pretty decent challenge. But that's gonna be later after we've done all this recap. So guys, please do stick around because we've got a ton of great things coming your way.
My name is James Banks and I'm one of your hosts and commentators throughout all of this madness that unfolds. And this man joining alongside me the name is Toby, and this guy has been bringing all the knowledge bombs, all the craziness, and we've had just a phenomenal first week, right?
We have. It has been a lot of fun. There's been so many things happening. The very final game we saw of the final day of week 1, it was absolute madness. Crazy circles, crazy clutch plays. I mean, we've had everything.
So another thing we like to do here on Futurecast is have a look at some of our thoughts and feelings, and also you can go and get in touch with us and let us know what you think. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree. And the first one we're going to start with here, Toby, is looking at what we think is the most impressive moment we saw from Group A, week 1. Now for me, I know it already, right? That ending with Avangar versus Besiktas, Ultra, no way should have he had a chance of winning that, right? Avangar had the positional advantage, then they peaked, and I think the only problem is they sat a little bit far back, right?
Yeah.
It was like, Onactive sat in the background, Snoopy was pushing up, and then ended up where Ultra just sprayed into him, got one, and you thought, cool, now he's just going to push up. But he stayed behind the tree, and then out of nowhere, I was like ready to say, Avangar win, and then all of a sudden, Ultra's like, no, I'm getting it done, and Besiktas claimed their 3rd win, and you screamed like crazy, and I was sat there like, did that just happen?
That
like,
was
is that
insane.
real?
Absolutely.
What about yours?
I'm gonna go with the Erankle game just on the north side of Everest.
Okay.
Simsi is sitting and crying by a rock because his entire team was just eliminated. And all of a sudden, he pulls out a magic stick saying, well, I'm gonna kill everyone. And then he goes absolutely insane and 1v4s the entire enemy team and gets the rest back up to his teammate.
Oh yes, that was actually a really big play. I like
insane.
that. I can't complain about that one.
Yeah.
Now, what is your moment where we say kind of worst moment? The way we go, what the hell is going on? And we had a lot of vehicle games where they were just running each over. Quick math, hold the title for the most vehicle kills of your own team going.
I think for me, it's not one specific scenario. It's more of an overall thing and it kind of goes back to the best play you had with Avangar. At no point should Ultra have been in a position where he could shoot at one guy where the other guy couldn't shoot at him.
Yeah, they was playing the refrag position.
The whole communication thing, so many times we saw people get too greedy, get too eager. Oh, he's right here, I can kill him. And then it doesn't work out because A, they're not in a good enough position. Maybe B, he starts shooting before his team is told where he is. I mean, or the opponent is. Just communication, info, all these things, positioning. We saw the thing with Roopsy as well from Meet Your Maker. Start shooting out in the middle of the open, last remaining player on your team on Miramar. You just don't do those sort of things. So, just communication breaches. Overall, there were too many of them, honestly.
Yeah, that can really start to affect. But communication is key to success in any game, in any esports side, but especially PUBG when it's getting down to those very quick, slow movements. Like, you've got to get involved in it, right? Where it's like, you've got to communicate effectively, but you've got to react on time with it. Yeah. And that's what these guys kind of at times struggle with. Now, my one is actually going to be a very similar thing, but communication where Reciprocity had it. It was the moment where Scoom, he worked his way up in the buggy, and it was all clear for him a little bit. Then he started getting shot at, and we don't know what their communication was.
Obviously.
Right? But I know what Scoom's like. He would have told that to the rest of his team. But then it was Shiv and someone else, jumped in the car, and then rolled up the same hill, and then both got killed. And I think it was Haxetti with them as well. You can't quote me on the names, but 2 players from Reciprocity then rolled up, and it's like, what did you expect to happen?
Yeah.
Like, you're basically then going out to your death. You're just walking in, like, you're basically praying that they're going to miss all their shots, and you're playing in a pro PUBG lobby. They miss shots, but they ain't missing shots like that on a car, of all things. And that, for me, I was just like, because I hold them to such high regard, right? I expected so much better. So that's probably my worst moment as well.
There you go.
Don't forget, guys, you can let us know what your worst moment is and what your most impressive moment is. Do hit us up on all the socials. It's at PEL_esports across the board. Now, one of the other things, Toby, and we got to start with this, right, is Our number one team at the moment, Avangar. These guys from the CIS region, they not only had just great performances throughout, but it was the consistency. Now, we joke around and say consistency is key in PUBG overall, which is right. But this is across 24 games per group. And within these 24 games, Avangar certainly had a slow start, right? We didn't see them get the wins we expected. Both me and you predicted them to do well. But my God, when we got into day 2, we were thinking, this is bad. They're not in a good spot. And then all of a sudden, they turned it around. For me, they were the most impressive. But what really changed?
I don't really know. I mean, they clearly did something different that actually goes along for all the top teams. Maybe with the exception of Unity, it was just they haven't really had crazy games, but they've been up there all the time and got their wins, right? But if you talk about Besiktas, horrible start, they came back, started doing really good. Desperado, they've had really good performances, but it's been like spikes. So then they get a win, and then they have a 16 place 0 points. Same thing for Quick Math. Crazy start. Now they're falling off kind of again, right? So everybody has had their ups and downs. The only really like steady wins the race kind of team has been Unity, and they're sitting in 4th place.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing. What's been crazy, right? Is Unity. They've always been engaging in fights. They've always been coming away with some of the earlier wins we saw. But even then, when we haven't seen them, even the last game we had of week 1, they were able to grind it out right until the end and keep themselves within it. They've always been kind of scrapping some of these fights in there. I'd say with Avangar, one thing I've loved seeing most about that team is just the aggression. It doesn't matter if they were down 3 men, like early on, we lose people, it doesn't matter what's going on with them. They were never scared to take a fight, and that's where the individual skill kind of set them aside from the rest of the team.
Very much so. You see the same thing with Besiktas. They both like to do this smash mouth. As long as they know they have things under control, they will go for the fight and they will do so. And the only thing that's been surprising to me is despite them both kind of trying to clear everything and kill everyone, they never fought each other.
No.
I mean, they rarely ever do. I think there was one game where they ended up fighting each other somewhat early on in the game, but they kind of just clear each their side, do their thing, and then they just turn it into the middle and start fighting in the end.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we started to see right until that very last 2 games where we actually saw them go head to head, and that way we got the game that we never expected them to win, and actually Avangar should have kind of closed it out, and that was one of them points where it just came to raw individual skill right until the wire. Now, coming down the rest of the table, right, L-Gig, we see them consistently being there at times, and then other times we're like, okay, they don't get the drops they want, they're not circle playing as well. But one team I've got to look at is We Need a Home, right?
Yep.
We Need a Home. We literally hardly said their names. We didn't see much from them. It was like 1 or 2 players getting picked off very early on. And then the last 2 days we saw actually a great recovery from them. And that was just down, I guess, to them as just kind of changing up their game a little bit, because they certainly, still dropped in the same zones, but we saw different rotations come out from them.
And also very evenly for them. They have a pretty much tie with amount of kill points and placement points. Some of these teams, they have insane amount of kills, but they never really get in the placements. Other way around for some other teams, they can go up there, they can get those top 5 spots, but they do it with a few points. You saw the reciprocity game. They get the win, that's all good, but they only got 3 kills with it. So not that many points in the end. Sure, 10 points is good, but you need those kills in there as well.
And what's funny, right, is when we talk about Avangar and we're talking about kill points, they got 114 in week 1.
Yeah.
The closest to them was like 80 odd?
Yeah, 81 from Desperado. That's
There's a big disparity in that, right? That changes it up. Now, looking down towards the end part, we spoke quite heavily on the broadcast about reciprocity. Reciprocity, we both thought they were doing so much better. Skoom, a very intelligent, smart in-game leader. We've got Haxetti in there, who we've seen some great stuff from. But overall, this team didn't seem to feel like the most well-rounded team there. They had a real rough start, dropping out early on. They had situations where you'd think you've made the right decision, there's a good play, but when they get in the engagements, they weren't able to take on the battles. And I'm thinking, I'm really scared for them, because they're sat in 13th place at the moment after the end of week 1, and we've only got 8 games for them left ahead. They need to step it up. They had 1 good game across 4 days of play.
very, very true. And they did say on day number 4, Skoom said we need to change things up. They did. They got themselves the win. Now they do need to get something done in the final 8 games if they want to have any chance of making it any further.
Now, other teams, right, the Kebabs, right at the bottom at the moment, they had the most, we spoke about at the beginning, it was like, what are you doing right now? Because they kept doing this crazy thing where 3 players would go off in one direction and they just leave. And it was either EFSA or MFS, and they'd be left completely on their own to just play around the rest of the map. But they kept getting picked off. They weren't winning. And I'm thinking, when are you going to stop doing this? We get to day 3 and finally they're like, oh, okay, it's probably better to stick together as a unit. But it still hasn't helped them. They're so far behind now. I can't see them recovering.
No, I mean, we talked about it earlier in the cast on the final day 4 of week 1 with Group A there, how they're going to be in a position now where they might not be able to do a whole lot themselves, but they can disrupt so many things for all these other teams in contention. They can be one of those dark horses, one of the crazy cats you don't really want to go near because you don't know what's going to happen once you go over there.
Now, you got to also talk about Sweaty Nerds. Multiple times we saw from Sweaty Nerds, they were getting involved in fights, and Andy, you've got to talk about him as well, right? Having some great shots in there, looking really strong, a nice player, well-known player throughout this. But their whole team is not really collectively there. Zyphon's soon leaving. He's retiring from PUBG. He's in a situation where obviously he's going to play out through the rest of this phase, and then they're going to have to find a new player. There's a lot of uncertainty around them, but they have games where we see them right in there, able to showcase their skill. And then other games, it's like Zyphon continues to go for these pushes ahead of his team, and then he gets in, maybe gets one knock, but as soon as he's taken down, the rest of the team aren't there. And I'm thinking, you guys need to start communicating a little bit better.
And that's one of the things, right? Because you see Besiktas, you see Avangard, two of the teams we really like to compliment for how well they keep their calm, even in the chaotic situations. But the thing you talked about Zyphon soon leaving. Andy hasn't played on that team for any longer than, the duration of this tournament. So they are very new in playing together. Sure, they've practiced together, but when you're up against teams that have sat together, played together for months and months on end, that communication breach just becomes such a big factor.
Well, that's us letting you guys at home know about what went down on week 1, and it was a lightning fast week 1. Me and Toby wanted more games to commentate because it was just getting that close, right? We were seeing the dynamics change, we were seeing the teams kind of just flow differently, right? They were making minor adjustments to what they could.
Okay, James, enough about discussing week 1. I think it's time for us to do our predictions now.
Okay, so what are we talking about prediction-wise here?
I think we got something good in store. I'm thinking something like placements overall after the week of play and stuff like that, with a little bit of some consequence in the mix of things as well.
What are you talking about? Like you get to punch me? You got to dye my hair again? What are we doing?
No, I think I've something much worse. I know you're a very gifted stage actor. I've seen all your stage interviews and stuff like that, but I've never heard you sing. And I'm thinking, since you seem like a guy that would sit at home sometimes, drink a little glass of wine, watch Titanic, maybe cry a little. So I'll give you, in case you lose, which is, we never know, but in case you lose, I'll give you the chance to, in front of all of you guys, perform one verse and one chorus from Titanic's amazing theme sung by the great Celine Dion, My Heart Will Go On. What do you say?
Great. That's going to be enjoyable. I'm sure this is going to end up good for me, as always. Thanks, Toby. Okay, but the problem with this is you had musical background. So this benefits you even further, and you're better at predictions. Oh, boy.
Is it a deal? You got it?
I guess I'm going to have... see, I don't back down, right? There's one thing, I'm confident with it. All right, let's do it.
We got it.
All right, let's do it. So, okay. How's this going to go? Let's discuss Group B first, right? Let's look at it. Now, plenty of teams in here. The team I first want to start with is Team 3D Max. A team that certainly could be one of the, not say dark horses, because I'm now expecting them to do a little bit better, but they're a team that I think people should definitely not sleep on.
Not at all. I mean, they're a team that came in very much in the top of their group in the qualifiers, so no dark horse by any means. Completely agree with you. There are some teams in the mix. I mean, 7, the guys from CIS region as well, insanely good team. Seen them play in the top of, competitive PUBG many times before. Sukdetnam, a team that's always kind of been close to being up there. They went to the LAN to qualify for the PEL Pro League themselves. Didn't manage to make it, but now through qualifiers here, they managed to get inside. We got Gamers Legion. I mean, so many good teams in here. This is going to be a tricky one.
Now, when it comes down to it, right, who is your biggest team to look out for in Group B? So this is where I can pick your knowledge a bit before I have to go in with my prediction. This saves me a little bit.
So am I gonna say what opposite of what I'm thinking now?
Because you'll be trolling the viewers at home.
That is true. I have to be honest. I will say, I mean, a team that I expect to. I'm not saying I'm going to expect them to win, but to be up there would be a team like Sukdetnam. Over the last couple of times, they've added in Page recently, their newest 4th player on the team. After they got him in, it's just as if something kind of clicked. I mean, it's just clear to see that they have now found something that works. Whether it's going to work in this lobby and against these teams, we can't know for sure, but clearly they're coming into this as one of the teams that I would expect to be sitting in the top.
And the thing is, with PUBG, it's so hard to predict. Right?
It
We
is.
saw this from week 1 for Group A, because yes, we were saying reciprocity should be all good on paper. Avangard, we were correct, at least in that sense, but come on, it's Avangard, right? We know what they can do, we know the ability within this team. But like, there were plenty of teams that came up out of nowhere and were kind of, not like we knew they couldn't do it, we've seen them do it in the qualifiers, but they were like a big shock factor to it. Now, Tornado Energy, talk to me about those guys. What do you know about them?
Tornado Energy, exciting bunch of players. We've seen them time and time again up against, they have like a sister company in both Tornado Energy Storm and Battle, but they're a bunch of guys that have always been on the brink of success, but then kind of falling back. I mean, not falling back, they're just like Sok Vietnam. They're the team that we know are in there. They just don't have all the titles to sort of bring home.
Okay, so it's one of those things where it's like, this is your time to shine, this is your time to
Could
prove
be, very much
yourself
so,
really
yeah, exactly.
on the
exactly.
up and coming. All right, let's have a look at this, right? What is this? I get to go first, yeah? Can I take
Yeah,
that?
go for it.
I get the first choice because you're making me do this, you're making me suffer. So, you keep saying Sok Vietnam, but I'm still feeling 3D Max. Like I said about it when we did our
That's fair, yeah,
said
go
about our
for it.
predictions, but I'm still keen on them. But I'm just saying names and looking at your face because I'm trying to judge what he's doing to me.
Professional poker player over here, not giving anything away.
I'm not playing you a poker either. God, this is going to be...
I'm not a professional poker player at all. Don't steal my money.
Okay, we are going to go play poker afterwards. I'll tell you guys how I do at some point. I got to go with 3D Max, right? Because there's a lot of the unknown entities when we look at Group B, much like we did on Group A. With this being contenders, we see mixes up of players and teams, right? New teams coming in, like we said, it was Sweaty Nerds as an example from Group A. Changes are just all happening at the same time. So for me, 3D Max is my like safe bet with it. That's where I want to go with it.
Just to be sure here, what we're saying is that after week 1 is over, the team that is above the other predictions team wins and the other guy loses? Is that how it goes?
Okay, yeah, that's good actually. As long as they're
So you
ahead,
pick one team, I pick one team. The team with the best placement after week 1,
So
for them week 2 overall, I would
overall
say.
points, right, but
Overall
week 2,
points,
yeah.
the teams that are sitting the furthest up the leaderboard wins.
Yeah, okay, let's do it.
Okay, you go with 3D Max.
Yep.
Yeah, now I talked about them. I'm gonna stick with Sok Vietnam.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna stick
Thing
with
is,
them.
with PUBG, everything is not as it seems. All it takes is for a few circles to not go so well, right?
Yeah.
Things to mess up, and both of us could be looking bad. But I like this because all I need is them to do well in a couple of games, and your guys to just be underneath, and we'll have to wait and see what happens.
see.
Oh man, this is going to be a lot of fun. There are
We'll
predictions
see.
coming up. This is going to be an interesting Group B coming your way. Remember, the PEL is happening every single week for the next 3 weeks now, as we've just finished week 1, and where you can catch all the action with me and Toby across the board. And I'm sure we'll be doing a few more of these shows. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. And yeah, we'll catch you on the show. We'll catch you live in action, and we'll catch you when I win my prediction, so he has to sing.